Once you find yourself in conflict with a narcissist, it's a virtual guarantee they're going to start playing head games with you. That's why I put together a new course. It's very extensive called Anger Games. I'm going to teach you how to manage anger and conflict with a narcissist. There's a link below that's going to show you how to register, and I hope that you find it to be very insightful. A question that I'm asked from time to time is, hey, Dr. C, why do you talk so much about the topic of narcissism? And that's a fair question. Actually, when I discuss this topic with you, I'm talking with you about the human condition. I want you to understand that narcissism is all about psychological immaturity. These people are profoundly immature. They don't grow. They don't expand. They just stay stuck in their maladaptive patterns. They are raw in the way that they manage their emotions. They don't really have a good sense of meaning and what I refer to as transcendence that guides them down the path towards goodness and decency. They concern themselves little with the needs and feelings of other individuals. They insist upon maintaining control over you in many different kinds of ways, which then leads to them being entitled. They receive little feedback from you. Their defenses are far too strong for that. They think of themselves as better than, which means that they come across as judgmental. They can rationalize them being manipulative. And in the end, they lose the capacity for love. All of that is part of the human condition, and there's so many ingredients that go into that. And narcissists are the people over here in this category that says, I can't figure it out. I don't want to figure it out. I'm just going to stay stuck in my maladaptive patterns. Now, it's easy for you and me to point the finger of accusation at that narcissistic person and say, I just hate who they are. I don't like the way they treat me. This is an awful human being. They've ruined my reputation, or they've cost me treasured relationships. This person is driven by disdain and contempt. But you know, if we allow ourselves to stay stuck in those strong, angry, and futile sentiments towards them, then we run the risk of becoming just like them and mimicking the very ingredients that we don't like. Now, that brings me to a question that I want you to ponder for yourself. If you're going to mature, here's the question that you want to ask, and that is, in what ways might I imitate the narcissist? Now, I know that's not something that each one of us wants to go into, but like I say, we each carry that dual nature. We each have the capacity for something like that. And if we're not going to be honest with ourselves about the potential for psychological immaturity, then we're never going to be strong enough to get beyond that and to withstand those who come at us with their psychological immaturity. Or we might just say, am I going, or we might just ask, am I just going to stand in self-righteous smugness over them and pronounce judgment towards them? I'm hoping instead that you can find the strength to ask, what is it in me that I need to be aware of so that I don't go into their space? Let me give you an idea of what I'm talking about. Basically, each one of us in our humanity has the capacity for example, selfishness. You can choose to be that way if you like. I can, and I've done it. You have too. Or we can choose to be more benevolent toward other individuals. Where do you want to go? And can you admit, yeah, I've got that on the inside of me? Each one of us has our moments when we can be controlling. I can be that way. You can be that way. Or we can also choose to say, well, I want to step into the world of free choice. I have free choices. So does the other person. How does that guide me in the way that I engage? Each one of us is capable of being judgmental. I can, you can, or we can be inquisitive. We can be discerning in the way that we engage. Where do I go with respect to that? I want to examine myself. Each one of us has our moments where we can act superior toward other individuals, or we can go into the space where we recognize the equality that would be there between myself and another individual. Every one of us has our moments when we can be cynical, or we can turn that around and we can choose optimism. Where do we go with respect to that? There are times when we can just be totally disinterested in another person's feelings and needs, or we can choose empathy towards others. Do you understand what I'm saying? You have those possibilities on the inside. You have the ability to be critical. You have the ability to see the good in others. Do you understand that about yourself? You can belittle other people. You can be an encourager. You can be argumentative. You can be diplomatic. You can hold on to grudges. You can choose radical acceptance, or you can even choose forgiveness at times. There are times when you're capable of moral decay, or you can choose goodness. There are times when you can just allow that raw base instinct to just take over, and you just have a very almost an animalistic mindset towards other individuals. Or you can choose to have what I refer to as transcendent thinking. In other words, you're guided by a very powerful sense of meaning that overrides whatever it is that's in front of you. Now, I want you to think, when was the last time you heard a narcissist say something like, yeah, I need to examine myself that way? They won't do that. And for you and for me, it's hard to go into that space of asking, who am I? What elements are in my human condition that I need to be aware of? And it's not always flattering. You see, I'll just speak personally. I'm not a saint, and I'm not about to be given sainthood status. I'm not the ideal. I'm capable of insensitivities. And that's the point. You see, I'm human. You're human. The narcissist is human. And when you and I will ask the question, what is it in my humanity that can cause me to get off the path and over into the ditch? What is it in my humanity that can cause me to be a mature person? That's where we can find maturity. Now, one of the things that narcissists will do is they will dehumanize you. You'll notice in all of their criticism, their haughtiness, their condescension, their control, it's their way of implying, I don't want to look at your humanity. I want you to be a cog. I want you to be functional. I want you to fill whatever needs are there for me. Just do what I tell you to do, and we're going to be fine. They don't want to see your humanity. Why is that? And here's some important insight for you to be aware of. They won't see your humanity because they despise their own humanity. If they were to slow down and say, there's a reason for you being the way they do, let's break that down. Let's talk about it. They can't do that because then it would mean, well, I guess I have to do that as well. So narcissists, instead of saying, I can go into that space, they just go into that space, and then as they do, they cover it up. They lie first to themselves. They rationalize and justify, and then they lie to you about how superior they are and how awful you are. They blame you for whatever difficulties they have in their world. I mentioned control. They'll try to control all sorts of things about you. They want to control how you're supposed to think, what opinions you ought to have, how you're supposed to respond to them, how you ought to defer to them. And so you and I can ask the question, what is it about this whole pattern of narcissism that I'm capable of? The narcissist is like, yeah, you need to ask that question because I'm sure not going to. And by asking the question, I'm hoping you can find insight. You can find wisdom. Now, the narcissist, if you were to say, I think we need to examine who you are. And we need to take a look at what these issues are because we're each capable with that dual nature. You know what they're going to say if you were to bring that kind of thought to them? They'll say something like, shut up, get out of my face, you're the problem. They won't go and say, I know that I have the capacity for all sorts of strains and difficulties. They blame shift. Their deep history didn't allow them to be vulnerable. It didn't allow them to grapple with the difficult parts of themselves in a safe environment. When a kid says or does some things that are awful, what they need is a loving authority or a parent or guide to say something like, I can tell you're really struggling. Let's break that down. Let's talk about that. In what ways do you struggle? What would be your better alternatives? Narcissists never did learn to do that because it's like, oh yeah, as soon as I start admitting a few things about myself, I'm going to get clobbered and I'm going to lose my position. I'm going to lose my power over other individuals. No way. I'm hoping though that you and I can say, well, if that's the case, you're stuck. You're going to be stuck in your immaturity. I want to mature. I want to grow, and I want to have a sense of meaning. So I am going to be willing to ask those not so flattering questions about myself. And as I do, that's going to become the impetus for curiosity and questions about the cleaner alternatives. And that's where we get to move forward, where the narcissists remain stuck. You see, narcissists miss one very strong paradoxical thought, and that is the person who's willing to contemplate their own potential for narcissism are probably the very ones who are going to be least inclined toward narcissism. I hope you heard that. Examine yourself, be honest with yourself, and just put it out there. And in doing so, you find yourself to be an individual who has a well-conceived idea of who you could be and who you want to be, and you give priority to the better alternative. Narcissist is like, hey, I'm all in on all that fake stuff. I'm all in on phoniness. I'm all in on the false self. And my response is, yes, I see that. I'm not going to join you there. I'm willing to ask the hard questions. Now, I hope this gives you some good insight and some good things to think about for yourself and with respect to who you're dealing with. If you haven't already hit that subscribe button, I would encourage you to do so. We're going to keep more videos coming towards you. There's a tab actually in the channel that says videos, and it'll take you to all sorts of different topics of many kinds of things. In addition, when you're dealing with something like this, I know that there's times when you think, I could use some therapy. I'd like to have somebody to help me break this down. Well, I've been sponsored for years now by the people at BetterHelp.com. It's an online therapy resource. We found out during the pandemic that it's very effective and it's very affordable, and it's something that people have liked. And so if you have the need, go beneath the video and click their link, and you'll have the ability to choose a therapist that you can work with. It'd be so nice for someone to say, I want to know you. Let's be honest with who you are, and you can grow and you can mature. In addition, during my retirement years, I've been putting together online courses, classes, and you can access these at any time, and you can share them with anybody you want. Each video course has at least 25 teaching videos with documentation along with it, guided questions. We have anger games, how not to get sucked into their anger. This is me, how to establish boundaries. Free to be, ready, set, connect. There are links below the video that will take you to those and explain what they are. In addition, on my website, I have access to my webinars, which are 90-minute presentations of a different nature, along with access to my podcast, articles, books, etc. Okay, I'm talking about the human condition, and I want you to ask, what is it in me that could go in the wrong direction? In what ways might I imitate these individuals, not to create guilt, but to create curiosity? And I hope that you can be a curious person. I hope that you like examining yourself and you like learning about the human condition. And in doing so, it positions you then to become somebody who ultimately can find steadiness and find meaning, and it can take you to your place of peace.